But I guess the first thing I wanted to ask you, now that you have this brand new book out, which is so exciting, would you compare it at all to Much Too Vulgar? Do you find any
Yeah.
comparisons at all? Okay, let's dive in.
Yes. I will definitely say so. Both this one and Much Too Vulgar, written in first person, that's mostly what I do now. And I think it really helps you get close to the psychological torment going on with our main characters. Because both this book and Much Too Vulgar, you see kind of a descent into madness. You see characters not being able to trust themselves. You see characters doing what they think is right, regardless of what is actually right. So I think being that close to the psychological horror going on makes this book and Much Too Vulgar. They're not twins. I'd say they're like fraternal twins, maybe.
Okay, well, speaking of twins, it's about a postpartum mom, and you kind of alluded that's kind of based on your own experiences. Do you want to share about that?
So I wrote this when I was about a year postpartum with my son. And when I was writing it, it was enormously cathartic for me because if I ever felt upset about something, if I thought my emotions were getting out of hand, maybe I would write it down. And I said, you know what, that's going to be in the book. And so much of this is based on my real experience that my husband's not allowed to read it. We were actually just talking about that. And he came home and he's like, your mom said I really shouldn't read this book because everybody's going to think I'm a horrible person. It's like, no, no, this character isn't you, which it's not, but it's like, remember, this is from a postpartum mom's perspective. She is an unreliable narrator. She's not getting a lot of sleep. She's completely lost her identity and her autonomy. So everything that you're reading, you have to take with a grain of salt because it's through the lens of somebody who knows that she is not who she used to be. So everything else she sees around her is not how she would normally see it. So yeah, a lot of this was very cathartic and very similar to my real experience. But of course, I never actually met an evil fairy living in the woods.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about this evil fairy, because you start off the book with a little quip from Rumpelstiltskin, which is one of my favorite fairy tales. What inspired the fairies?
So actually, real experience. My daughter was maybe 1.5, and I started making little fairy doors because I thought it would be fun when we would go on walks around the neighborhood with her in the stroller. We could stop and say, look, there's a fairy door. And I started thinking, wouldn't it be creepy? How can I make this creepy? That's what horror authors do. And I thought, well, what if there's actually something living behind this fairy door, but it's not a nice fairy? And so from that, I decided I wanted to weave this in with experiences of postpartum depression and everything that comes after, the newborn stage and having a new baby. And I really like the play of the psychological realistic horror with the supernatural. I think that just brings something different. And I think the dark fairy tale spin, it was really fun to write, and I hope it's as fun to read.
Oh, that's so awesome. So, okay, I have to say, I live in an apartment on the 3rd floor, and right outside my window have been these beautiful eucalyptus trees. And so when I first picked up your book, I thought, oh, there could be fairies in there, right? Get the whole imagination going. Well, my neighbors, they're new owners, they're cutting down the trees. And I'm literally like crying because this is going to sound weird. I'm thinking of the fairies, which is weird. Okay, it's like fairy tales, but we're writers and we start imagining. So I'm thinking of your book as I'm hearing these trees being chopped down, and I'm getting like really sad, because I'm thinking, all right, so they're dark. Maybe these fairies are like pissed off because their world's being screwed up by humans. I was just thinking that.
Yeah, I mean, we don't get the evil fairies perspective. So if
right?
he's unreal, you don't know.
And well, that's what I love about your characters, though. It's like no matter how evil they are, you kind of keep it real. Like Keely Rexroth. It's like she's like really messed up, but
Yeah.
she keeps it real. She's like validating everything she's doing. So I haven't really gotten to the climax of the book yet. And I'm like I need time. But I'm just thinking, do you find that there's going to be a point in the book where where someone's going to go, holy moly, what's going on here? And
yeah, I would say that happens a couple of times in this one. The very last chapter is going to throw you for a loop. I will say that, the epilogue.
Okay. All right. Well, do you want to give anything away?
I really can't give anything away without spoiling the whole thing for you. Okay. But I will say I've had so many moms tell me that this is incredibly cathartic for them to read, because I think nobody tells you the truth about what it's like to be the mom of a newborn, really. They just tell you, sleep when the baby sleeps, it's going to be hard, but you'll get through it and it's all great. But I don't know about everybody else, but in the moment, it was so hard for me to go from, okay, I have to take care of myself to I have to take care of myself, but more importantly, I have to take care of this, tiny being who needs me for literally everything. And I think that shift is not talked about enough about how hard that is. And the number of moms who've commented saying, this was so validating. This is what I went through. You captured it so well. That means a lot to me because the more we talk about it, the more we normalize it, people aren't going to just have a baby and then go, why am I the weird one? Why am I feeling this way?
Well, what about the relationship too with the dad? Whether you're married or with partnership, where do you share that experience? Because you kind of talk about it in the book, and he comes across as not quite getting it. So, what was your experience like?
Well, I will say this again, why my husband's not allowed to read it, because you're supposed to not like the husband in the book. So many people have told me, they hated Cash, absolutely hated him. But the thing about him is that he's not a bad guy. He's really not. He's not the villain in the story. He's just a guy who doesn't, like you said, he doesn't get it. He doesn't understand, his life hasn't really changed while hers has. And he's thinking, the dynamic between us will stay the same. There's just now another person here. And in reality, it's completely different. And so I think that's an interesting situation in anybody who is married or has a long-term partner going into this experience and being like, when you have had the baby, your body is different, your mind is different, your hormones are going crazy, like you are different, but your partner may not be. And that is a really hard thing to adapt to. I mean, you do adapt, but it is hard.
Well, I've heard some people actually harm the kid. They either not ignore the kid completely, or I've heard of cases where the kid gets a lot of abuse unintentionally because the mom is just in this state where you're right, she can't handle it. So would you say that by writing this book it could actually help some moms going through it?
I hope
Have a
so.
experience or
Yeah, recognizing that like you're not alone. Lots of people feel this way, and that you absolutely can get help, and it's not going to be like this forever. Because I think that's another really hard thing is when you are running on no sleep, you can't take care of yourself. You think, oh my gosh, another week of this, I can't handle it. Another 3 months of this, I can't handle it. And people are saying, oh, it gets easier next year. And you're thinking next year is never going to come.
right.
Knowing that there are resources and that, yes, time will pass and you will get through it, and just having somebody who gets it, even if you're reading a fictional book, just understanding that experience is valid and real, I think that makes a huge difference.
Well, and you already had your daughter. I mean, so you had two kids at this point, right?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, so it was completely different than your first pregnancy, or
It
what?
was different because with my son, I knew what to expect. We had all our procedures in place. We knew how to take care of a newborn. We knew how we worked together, and it was a lot easier. I will say that. The first time around, like Sadie goes through, I mean, everything changes and you're not prepared for it. And it's
Right.
almost difficult to be prepared because it's one of those things you don't know what it feels like until you experience it. So yeah, that was a challenge to write, but
Mhm.
cathartic. And as I was writing it and as I was editing it, I was starting to feel those feelings again, which was interesting how the writing can bring that back. So I'm glad that book is out in the world so that I can be nicer to my family now.
Well, it is this whole big change that goes on, and you're expected to be normal when there's nothing really normal about it, if you think about it. And then women who have like multiple children, and over, it's really crazy. I mean, I just have one, and it was like a life-changing experience. But you're a horror writer, so when you call this story, first of all, the title, I mean, I think of like a serious gore horror, but it's not. What kind of category would you call this? Or
I call it
genre?
primarily psychological horror, but with supernatural elements. And
Mm.
for the title, in case people don't know where this title came from. So sometimes when I write a book, the title comes first and then the story. The story came, I was looking around for a title, and I wanted something that married the motherhood aspect with the fairy tale aspect. So I was reading this translation of Rumpelstiltskin, and the last line, it's now the epigraph in the book, but the last line says something like, the little man stomped his foot in the ground and ripped himself up the middle in two. And I thought, okay, there's the Rumpelstiltskin fairy tale connection, but also that is a very visceral description of what giving birth is actually kind of like.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is a very angry book. It's a very visceral book. and I wanted a title that matched that and caught your attention, because I think so often, especially new moms, we just want somebody to hear us out, to not offer solutions, not try and fix it, not tell us that we're doing anything wrong, just listen and hear us out. Which, I mean, also this cover is somebody, it's a woman screaming. It's like, we want you to hear us.
So would you say men could read it and be entertained by it, or?
Yes, I mean, I've had so many people say moms should read this, but just as many people have said husbands and men need to read this to understand what's really going on in our heads. And I know not every mom feels this way, but I think a lot of us do. And
Right.
if you can explore that in a book and empathize with those characters as a man, then when you are confronted with that situation in real life, maybe you can have some more empathy. You can try and do, you know, not the wrong thing, do the right thing, say the right thing, act the right way, and avoid a lot of conflict.
Okay, but I have to say, with men and women, do guys really know how to do that? You know, it's like, I know that's a different topic altogether, but, you know, it's like we love men, but a lot of times they don't really quite know what the right thing to say is. You know, and you know, is this like, you know, men are from Mars, women are from Venus type thing, you know, it's like, and you really just want to sometimes smack him a good one, you know, so regardless of postpartum. So, I mean,
No,
guys,
that's
we
a
love you, but
question. Yeah, because I mean, I think guys really want to fix it. It's like if I come to my husband with a problem, he'll listen, but then he immediately tells me how I need to fix it. When most of the time, what I want is just somebody to listen and be like, "Oh, I'm so sorry that happened to you. Do you need a hug?" And especially when you're postpartum, that is what I wanted to maybe say, "I'm so sorry. Do you need a hug?" Instead of, "Well, have you done this or this or this or this or this?" And that's where a lot of the irritation on Sadie's part comes too, because if he's even listening, he is just trying to fix it instead of really getting to the root of the problem. So yes, I think men have the capacity to do this. It just has to be, you know, a switch has to flip in their brain to be like, okay, I'm in listening mode. And I've gotten to the point where with my husband, if I'm like, I just need you to listen, I'll just straight up say that, because they can't read our minds, even though we think that they should.
right, right. Well, this is a contemporary story too. It's set in Savannah. You live in Savannah.
Yes.
How do you like creating a story in your neighborhood, in where you live?
I love it because there's so much atmosphere here. If you've been to Savannah, we're in the low country. We've got these great big live oaks covered in Spanish moss. I mean, it's beautiful, but it's also hot, it's humid, it's sticky, it's southern. And in my neighborhood, you know, everybody knows everybody, everybody's in everybody's business. So a community like that is just really, really fun to write about. People in my neighborhood, now that the book is out, I've had so many people ask me, you know, when can I get a copy? Can I read it right now? Or I'm reading it right now and I love it. And so I think it's fun when people can read it and be like, okay, I see that. I see that. Because, you know, some characters are based on real people. It's fiction, but they are based on real people. So having my neighbors be like, I know who that is, and that's so cool. That's been fun.
Well, and then I think all the heat and humidity would add to Sadie's
Mm.
behavior, right?
Yes, as somebody who was pregnant and gave birth in the late summer twice, yeah, the heat makes a big difference because you want to get outside because you don't want to be trapped inside with the baby all day, but it's hot. And even though you're sweaty, that baby comes first, as always. So it's one of those things where you're just like, I'm just disgusting already. Let's just walk because what else am I going to do?
Right. All right. So this fairy, do you want to give any kind of description about it?
I can do you one better. And this is not a spoiler because I have shared this before. I had a wonderful artist named Joey Powell do illustrations for this book. So this is his depiction of the fairy.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. That looks really creepy.
Very
Yeah.
creepy, like kind of more like evil little troll. Like he doesn't have wings. He's just really nasty, dirty. Like he's a small, gross little man with, you know, dirty chipped fingernails. Everything about him is gross, and I mean, he's evil. You don't want that in your room at night.
Oh
Mm.
gosh. And the baby is about 3 months old in the book,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So then we see Sadie kind of, well, all right, we won't get into that. We won't give anything away. All right, but so what do you think? So what do you think of this little fairyland that you came up with? Do you see more of a world there too that you would possibly explore in another story, or?
I don't know. Some books, I feel like the story can continue. Like with Much Too Vulgar, I definitely feel that. My next book will be a sequel to Much Too Vulgar. And then
Yeah.
I have Veritable Household Pet, which takes place in that same universe. This one, I feel, I don't see a sequel coming or like a continuation of that world. I feel like I said all I wanted to say. because, you know, it's a book about motherhood. And I feel like I have said what I needed to say. I like the characters, but this was more of a theme-driven book than a character-driven book. Whereas
Right.
Much Too Vulgar is very much we are driven by Keely as a character, and I want to see what she does next. You know what I mean?
So would you say this book, Ripped Up, is in the MTV universe, the Much Too Vulgar universe, or could be in some kind of way? Well, Savannah, well, no,
Yeah,
well, kind of, sort of.
it could be. I mean, I think when you read this book, you'll be like, yes, Viggy wrote that, because there are definitely similarities to Much Too Vulgar, as we talked about in the descent into madness, the psychological horror, the questioning your own sanity. Will those characters ever meet Keely? I don't know. I will never say never.
Okay. Do you think maybe, and this is a stretch, maybe like one of Erica's roommates could possibly know Sadie, or could be like one of the yoga moms? I don't know. I'm just
It could
kind of trying to
happen.
trying to
It could
find a
happen.
tie-in here.
Who knows? I mean, I think the
Hmm.
community of Agua Roja, where Sadie lives, there are a lot of crazy people there, and some of them might just make an appearance in the MTV universe. You never know.
I, as long as that option's open, I
Yeah,
kind of like that, right? Having options open is definitely a good thing. Okay, well, all right. So now that this book is out, how do you feel?
I feel great. I mean, I've said this before. I think writing a book and publishing a book is almost harder in some ways than being pregnant and giving birth, because being pregnant, like, you just have to exist. Like, the baby grows, you give birth, like, it's going to happen. But I mean, there's a lot that goes into book publishing and writing and getting it right. And now that this is my fifth book, I feel like I, more so than ever before, I have an obligation to the audience that I've built, because I don't want to put anything out that is, you know, less than my absolute best. So this book had a lot of editing that went behind it. I wrote it in 2023,
Oh, wow.
and yeah, 2023, and now it's 2026. So this was a long time in the making. And yeah, so it's a lot. It's a lot, but I love it.
Well, I think people don't realize how much time and effort goes into writing a book because you have life happening,
Yeah.
and so the dedication to keep going back to it as opposed to just throwing out there when you know it's not ready, that really says a lot about you and about your integrity for what you're doing. So I think that's really great.
Well,
And
and I've said that it takes so much to get somebody to read your book, but it takes one bad book to lose a reader. So the last thing I want to do is put something out that I am not 100% proud of. And now that this is out, I think it's my favorite cover of all my books. I will say that, and I'm really happy with the response so far. This has been my most highly rated book so far. I know it's only been out for a couple of days, but people are really liking it. It's resonating with people, and that's all I could ever ask for.
that's so awesome. Okay, so what do you think about the art, working with an artist, having your book illustrated with a few pictures? What was that experience like?
Oh, it was great. Joey Powell is amazing. I mean, I've been following his art for a while, and I knew, since this is a dark fairy tale, I wanted illustrations more than just one, because all of my books have something extra. Usually it's just one illustration or diagram or something like that. But with this one, I wanted them throughout. So I gave him the passages and kind of the idea of what I wanted to focus on, and he brought them to life. And I think it just adds that extra bit of oomph to a book, because, there's a lot that goes into book design too. I mean, all of my chapters have fun little chapter icons, which my book cover designer did those. And I'll show one right here. I think they're super, super fun. It's a tiny little fairy door with a little skull.
That's so cool.
So there's a lot that you can do with a book to make it fun to read beyond just, the actual text of the book. And so the illustrations really added to that, and I think pumped up the dark fairy tale aspects too.
That's so awesome. So, do you still make fairy doors with your daughter or by yourself?
I did an incentive for my pre-orders. I said for every 5 pre-orders I get, I will put up one fairy door in my neighborhood. So I put up 6 fairy doors around my neighborhood. My daughter helped me paint them, and we went and we put them out. And every so often we visit them, and she keeps asking me, can she open one? And why isn't there little fairy furniture there yet? And I'm just like, well, the fairies have to find the door first before that can happen.
That's so awesome. Okay, does your son have any clue or idea about it, or does he
Oh,
care?
yes, he is interested in them, and my mom had to make up a story because he wanted to go open them. And she said that if you open them, the fairies will put gum in your hair. Don't know why. So that is enough of a deterrent to keep them from messing with
Right.
them.
Okay, I like that. Very cool. All right, so what's your next big project? What's next?
So we've talked about this before, but I have a draft of my next book. That's done. And as soon as my kids start back to school, I can get in on editing that one. And
Mm.
it's a time travel twist on a haunted house story. And I am hoping to put that one out in late March or early April of next year. And then also this fall, I will start writing the book after that, which will be the sequel to Much Too Vulgar.
See, this is so great because, when we talked months and months ago, we started talking about how you were, talking about ripped up the middle in two. And I just love how seeing it come to completion. And that's one thing I love about you. When you start something, you finish it and you put it out into the world and you're like, okay, let's go. Let's make it, let's do something new. And I have to say, this is why I'm so excited to work with you on developing Much Too Vulgar into a movie. I mean, it's just so awesome to have someone who's just like, so energized and so positive and so creative and wanting to get things done. And
Right
I,
back at right back.
and that's so rare to find and so freaking exciting. So I have to say thank you and keep writing because I love your writing and they're so cinematic. And, it's like, I'm just thinking, oh, all of her books are going to end up movies or series or both. So clean
I
that
do
out.
think this one for the second movie, I think this one is the way to go.
All right, so I will definitely finish reading it sooner than later. I tell you, it's just like I will get it right. Well, I ordered an actual hard copy, and I have to say, reading on a phone or on your laptop is not quite the same as holding the
It's
book in your
not.
hand, and like turning the page, and like really letting your imagination just go. So people buy books, and so where can people buy your book?
Well, if you want a signed and or personalized copy, you can always DM me. And I am about to get in stock all the paperbacks. So anybody who's already pre-ordered, you will get your books next week. And otherwise, you can buy it Amazon, bookshop.org, your local indie bookstore, anywhere books are sold.
Awesome. Okay, people, buy your book. I have a Viggy Parr Hampton collection now. Yes. I'm very excited about that. But I'm so glad to have you on here. So thank you. And we will be back in 2 weeks. And we'll be
Woo. talking
talking about, something else much too vulgar related. All right. I love this book. All right. And they ripped up the middle. Yes. But this one, guys, got to read the book because the movie is going to happen. It's happening. That's all I can say. So I will talk to you again really soon.
Awesome. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
All right. Thank you. Mwah. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.